familiar faces returning to the series. We are in for a cracker. My name is Dane Baird, and joining me in the commentary booth is Adam Barth. He's also going to be controlling the beautiful SDK gaming overlay and the cameras that you're seeing on your screen. Adam, with some familiar faces returning, we're in for a pretty good race tonight, I think.
Yeah, this track is pretty good in these Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars. At least it was in the Porsche Esports Super Cup race at the weekend. Brands Hatch, pretty narrow. One of the former hosts of the British Grand Prix as well. And I think we should see, as you were mentioning, some good racing around here. The cars should be able to follow each other quite nicely, and some may get quite adventurous in terms of their overtaking manoeuvres as well. Maybe into Paddock Hill Bend, maybe into Druids, or maybe slightly further around the lap in the woodlands around the circuit. So interested to see what's going to happen, and the qualifying session's going on at the moment, and we'll see who's going to be starting on pole soon. But first, we've got the points to run through as well.
Absolutely. It's a very narrow circuit as Brands Hatch, as much of the UK circuits. But here are the championship standings then. Shalva Koteshvili on the top of the standings right now by a good 32 points. That's a considerable margin. Oren Sade currently in second with Madi Bakar in third. Amir Meshlam, the organizer, in fourth. Ron Cohen in fifth. We've got Ori Lahav, Dekel Nar, Alon Zeltzer, NASCAR Euro Wheeling Series two-time champion Alon Day, who will not be joining us today since he is on his travels in the NASCAR Euro Wheeling Series. So he's not going to be joining us. Haggai Farron in 10th, John Chico, Ariel DeBush, Michael Sherling, Dor Malka, Nir Mizrahi, Michael Simon, Yossi Gabai, and Saad Dekel round out the top 18. It's very close in the midfield there. You've got a lot of drivers with only a couple of points between them, from 7th down to 15th. That's a good 7-8 positions. They're all separated by about 10 points or 20 points. So with up to 40 points, I think, are on offer every race. It is very close in the midfield. And also at the top, Shalva, if he doesn't finish this race and Oren Sade wins, Oren Sade will be in first. And there are a couple of drop weeks as well. It's a 12-round season. This is only round 5. So we are nowhere near the end of the season. There's still plenty of time for drivers to catch up. And on the bottom left of the screen, briefly popped up a familiar face of Dorian Tabachnik, third place from Season 2, back in the GT4s. Hasn't done the first 4 rounds, but he has returned to the iRacing Israel, a 3-time winner from last season. Love to see what he can do today. 5 minutes into qualifying, more or less. They're getting 3 laps instead of the usual 2, with the short nature of Brands Hatch. They're allowing an extra lap. You can see Dorian Tabachnik in that number 26 car, as always, in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen on the graphics, moving across the screen. Reem Gross currently sitting on pole position, Adam.
Whoa, that's very close, isn't it? As Dorian Tabachnik goes into second. Oh, Michael Sherling just pips him to it. In fact, all the quick lap times are coming in now.
Goodness.
And Shalva has set at the exact same time as, well, the timing says there's 1,000th of a second difference, but it is literally bang on, 126.230. And of course, Michael Sherling, because he set it before Shalva, he gets at the moment, the privilege of being on provisional pole.
Very rarely do we see drivers setting identical lap times. That is pretty impressive stuff. It just shows how close it's going to be today. We saw in the Porsche Esports Super Cup on the weekend, which this series mirrors the official Porsche iRacing Cup in terms of the calendar, which, as far as it can, will also mirror the Porsche Esports Super Cup. That's the community have decided. So we're basically doing the same circuits as the Porsche Esports Super Cup here in this series. Obviously, we alternate every other week, and that's the same as the Porsche Esports Super Cup. So last round was at Road Atlanta, I should say. This round's at Brands Hatch. We saw in the Super Cup very close racing, but it's difficult to pull off a move.
Yeah, it was quite tough. I noticed in the past, but one thing I did notice was that, as I said at the beginning of the show, was that everybody was able to follow each other pretty closely. It wasn't like they were getting cut apart and then there was no exciting racing at all. As Haggai Farron goes up into P3 and Dorian Tabachnik, well, what a comeback this is potentially turning out to be. I say that, Michael Sherling's gone slightly quicker. Shalva Kitavalshali has gone into third with a 1:26.166, and he's only a couple of hundredths ahead of Madi Bakar in fourth. So it remains very, very close once again after the second round of fastest laps. And I think this is setting up to be an exciting race in prospects. But yeah, as you said, Dane, with the overtaking being potentially quite difficult around here, qualifying and the first lap could be could be crucial, because some of the big hitters in the PESC at the weekend, once they had fallen behind some of the slower drivers, they found it very difficult to get their way back further forward. So we'll wait and see if that's the same here today.
Absolutely. It's also very, very close racing. It is very easy to follow in these cars. These cars don't have too much in terms of downforce. Like we saw last season with the GT4s, these cars follow pretty well. It's very common to see big groups of cars, and what we can see at the top of the timing right now is that this is going to be an incredibly close race. Right now, all but 2 drivers have retired back to the pit lane, 3 laps completed. So this is looking good for pole position for Michael Scherling on at number 200 car with a 126.054, less than a tenth of a second ahead of Dorian Tabachnik on his return. Shalva in third. He didn't have the easy race that many people thought he would last week, when he had really no competition except for Reem Gross, who came out of nowhere, took the lead and managed to hold on to it. Great race from him. He's down in 7th currently, 3 tenths behind. And we've got just one driver out on the circuit of Toma Ventura. And he is just making his way around the track. He hasn't retired from the pit lane, but he has finished all 3 of his laps. So I wouldn't be surprised to see qualifying skipping ahead in the not too distant future. But just over a minute left to go, and then we'll get the grid up on the screen. I'm really looking forward to this. 35 laps, no pit stops, like there were a couple, or almost a month ago now, back at Silverstone. So they don't have to worry about the very difficult pit entry and exit here at Brands Hatch, but they are going to have to worry about the very narrow nature of the circuit and lots of long corners that a lot of them are blind as well. It's a pretty difficult circuit here.
Yeah, some corners are cambered as well. Hawthorne Bend, which Toma Ventura was just going through there. Bumpy on the entry into that is Westfield Bend. Now up the hill into Sheen Curve. Take a lot of that inside curb and then make sure that you don't run wide on the exit. And then the 90-degree left-hander here at Stirling's, and then the run into Clearways, which it seems an easy corner, but if you get it wrong, you can lose a lot of time and potentially get overtaken by the cars behind you. And speaking of getting it wrong, that's what Toma Ventura has done for the final corner. I don't think it was going to be an improvement on his personal best, but he's going to come across the line anyway. And once he's over the line, I think we'll have just about 30 seconds left until we advance the session onto the 35-minute race.
Absolutely. Normally the sessions advance straight away, but I don't think everyone's completed all 3 of their timed laps. Oh, and there's a bit of a touch into the gravel, and that is Toma Ventura around. He retires to the pit lane. 10 seconds left in qualifying. No one on the circuit, so we're now just ticking down the clock, waiting until we can show you the grid. Lots of marshals there on the right side of the circuit. There, big groups of marshals here. I've not noticed that before, but the weird things you notice when in the commentary booth, I guess. 27 drivers in the race today. It's going to be a cracker, I think. Here is the grid there. Michael Scherling on pole position by just over half a tenth of a second. To Dorian Tabachnik on his return. Shalva will line up just behind in third. Madi Bakara alongside him. Amit Meshlam and Hagai Farron make up the third row. Reem Gross and Chachasvili in the fourth. Making up the top 10 is Oren Sade and Yossi Gabai. Then we've got Ori Lahav and Dekel Nar on row 6. Sardekel and Aiden Sher in the number 2 car there. Nirkop Mizrahi, Reedy Tsir, Alon Zoltzer, and Yehuda Ben Yosef in the top 18. Then we've got Gil Epstein, Ron Cohen, Barak Monturiano, Leon Portman as well. Toma Ventura, who we just saw on screen, Moshi Panchevsky in 24th, and then the final 3 drivers, who I don't believe set any times. No, they didn't, so that's Dormalka, David Diag, and Eric Alster, who will make up the back of the grid. Still waiting for a couple cars to grid up. They've got a minute left. But Adam, what are you expecting to turn number 1?
I'm expecting fireworks. Usually we see Dorian Tabachnik in a battle at the front. And previously with Alon Day and with Shalva as well. It does tend to get pretty feisty in the early stages. Hopefully it doesn't result in contacts, which we have been known to see in the past. But I think today we are going to see a bit of a thriller here. And watch out for Hagai Farron as well, starting in 6th place. I expect him to potentially cause a bit of trouble for the guys at the front as well.
Absolutely. Well, we're just waiting for the last couple of drivers to grid up. 20 seconds until we will see the lights. And the top 3 drivers here in the 200, the 26 and the 94, all race winners in this series. 10 seconds until the lights. Just waiting for a couple drivers. There they are then, the lights on the screen now. Turning red. Revs are rising. And we're going green at Brands Hatch. It's a good start for Michael Sherling. Manages to get a gap. Shalva's going to look up the inside of Dorian. No, he's not. Single file for the top 3. But that's Meshlam going up the inside of Matty Bakar. And he's made that move stick. Up the inside. He still has that inside line there. Up the inside in towards Druid Hairpin. Still single file for your top 3. Sherling, Tabashnik and potentially. And it's still side by side just behind them. Meshlam has made the move stick. And now Reem Gross up the inside. A little bit of a spin behind for the number 2 car. That looks like Sher. And a big contact there into the barriers. Huge contact for that number 55 car. That's really Sir involved in the number 36. And even more contact now. We've got cars rolling out of turn number 3. And that's Leon Portman over and around. He's going to carry on. They do get fast repairs in this series. He's going to come back to the pit lane. But there is Dorian Tabashnik still leading this race with Michael Sherling just behind, potentially just behind him. The top 3 separated by no more than half a second even as they come up towards one of the more tricky corners of the circuit. A blind uphill right-hander over the crest. Cut all of that inside curb. Be careful not to hit the grass on the outside. A little bit of a spin or a slide from Reem Gross, it looked like in the background. Did very well to catch that in that number 50, but he's now under pressure from Haggai Farron as we come around the final corner to start lap number 2. And Tabashnik has got a pretty substantial lead now.
What a start it was for him as well. Last time we checked in on him, it was Michael Sherling that was leading, but Dorian Tabashnik, while we were looking at the mess going on at Graham Hill Bend, has managed to take the lead away from Michael Sherling, and on his return to the series, things are going extremely well for the 26. He's already got a 0.6 of a second advantage at the end of the first lap. It's Sherling in second, then it's Shalva in third, Amir Meshalem and the Dr. Pepper car in fourth, then it's Reem Gross, Haggai Farron, Madi Bakar and Sade Chachalshvili and Dekon Nar completing the top 10. But as we were saying, Dorian Tabashnik did take the lead. Let's see if we can find how he did it in the opening lap. A lot happened in that opening lap. I'm just trying to find the replay for it now so we can see what actually happened.
Absolutely. Well, Tabashnik up into the lead. He's now led a lap of the race and they get 2 points. You get 2 points in this series if you lead a lap. Is it going to be a mistake from Sherling coming out of that turn 3? No, it's not. He's just got a poor exit. Didn't get the foot down quick enough, and that's Tabashnik up the inside. And that is a fantastic move. He manages to hold that line, block any sort of attempt from Sherling to get back ahead. And a great move to take the lead. And he's now got a bit of a gap brewing. Sherling managing to hold on about half a second between them. Shalva, meanwhile, is about a second behind Michael. He's not too close. We've seen him right at the front of the field in recent weeks, but he's not doing the same here today. Obviously not enjoying Brands Hatch too much this week. Here is then the number 42 car of Chachalshvili, and he's just behind Oren Sade, it looks like. We'll see if he makes a move into Druids. No, he's not. He's going to stick behind.
Very close between all of these guys, and in fact between most of the top 10 the gap is less than half a second between each car. And I think in the background of the shot you might be able to see just how close it is between some cars outside the top 10, the likes of Gil Epstein here. We've got Ron Cohen and in the Braun GP throwback liveried car, and he's up the inside of Alon Zeltzer, and he has just got through, so a decent move on the exit of Surtees. And who's this arriving onto the scene? It's Storm Malka, thinking of a move around the outside, but that avenue was very much shut by the man who's got his name on the rear spoiler, Alon Zeltzer there. So close fight going on for some of the positions towards the rear of the top 20, but as we've come to know in this series, every position is vital, and all these guys are really going at it in the early going here. 35-minute race, and we're just about to complete the opening 5 minutes, with it starting to get a little bit close in the fight for second place between Michael Sherling, who has got a very good livery, I must say, on his car this season. I don't know whether this is it's recently been added, but it's glowing nicely in the brand sunshine here, with Shalva all over the rear of that 200 car.
Absolutely, very rare brand sunshine for the UK. But look at the gap between them as they come around Druids. Almost nothing separating the two drivers as they come around there into turn number 3, touching the grass quite a bit. There on the outside of turn 3, there's a bit of alternative curbing. You can run your entire car over it and you won't lose much time. You'll gain quite a bit more time than you lose by going over that, by running wide and taking a wider line, carrying more speed through the corner. But Charlotte right on the back, about 3/10 separating these two drivers, and they are catching Dorian. So if Dorian's not careful, he's going to have a fight with 2 other drivers on his hands for that lead if he's not careful. But Shalva making his presence known, weaving about in the mirrors of Michael Schurling, making him very aware where he is, trying to off-put him a little bit. Here's Reem Gross with Emma Mesham just ahead of him, with a very nice livery on Mesham's car as well.
Yeah, he's got all the big hitters on Emma Meshalam's car, hasn't he? Didn't realise we had the Netflix sponsorship at the back. Into clearways we go then, onto the front straight. See if he can close up at all down the front straight. We did say that these cars are easy to follow one another. The only downside is that they don't have enough area to provide much of a slipstream. And in the foreground of this onboard, it looks very close, there between Michael Schurling and Shalva, but no way through just yet for the 94 car. Look how close we get under braking going into turn 2, into Druids. But Reem Gross just not close enough to get anything done. Behind him, he's got a bit of breathing space to Haggai Farron and Maddie Bakar, who is down 3 spots from the start. He's lost 3 places since we got going here, and he's now in 7th position. Biggest movers, in fact, have been the likes of Dawn Malka in 17th and Eric Alster in 19th. They both must have avoided all the mess in Druids and Graham Hill Bend at the start.
Absolutely, you can see now on the screen, still Gross 2/10 behind Meshalam. The gap here is still 3/10. Oh, a bit of a scrum from both drivers there. Shalva a little bit on the grass coming out of that last corner. Really difficult section here. A lot of right-hand corners. Those left-hand tyres by the end of that section are absolutely melted, especially when the sun does shine here at Brands Hatch as they come around the final corner now. And that gap to Tabashnik finally over a second, and Shalva is very close here. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried a move. He's making himself known, weaving about in the mirrors. It's a very long braking zone here into Battle Hill Bend, almost touching as Michael gets a really bad mid-corner speed, and he's going to go down the inside. Is he? Yes, he does. Up the inside goes Shalva. It's going to become the outside for the next corner. Is he going to be able to hold it all the way around the outside? Michael does, and he has to file back into single file. Great move from Shalva up into second.
Wow, that was brilliant. It looked like from that helicopter shot that they didn't touch, but even still, it looked like that Michael Schurling just had a bit of a wobble on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, and that was enough to just lose a fraction of speed on the exit and allow Shalva to go around the outside of Druids and have the inside line and get the position. But Michael Schurling's not. Yeah, he's going to try and get back around the outside of Hawthorne here. We've seen Alex Albon try loads of outside moves and get them done, but no grip on the outside of Hawthorne here at Brands Hatch, and he has to slot back into second place, but not for the want of trying. A for effort there by Michael Schurling, and I'm sure he'll try and continue to apply the pressure, because we have seen he has got the pace to keep Shalva at bay, at least over the last few laps anyway.
Absolutely, they're going to come towards the final corner now. This is where Shalva got a great exit on the last lap. Michael's going to try and imitate that, but he's dropped back a little bit. 4/10 is now the gap, but Shalva got a really poor exit out of turn 4, and that's why Michael was able to throw it around the outside. Didn't quite work out from that time, but a very brave effort. Lots of rear. The rear really comes out in Paddock Hill Bend. I've seen quite a few drivers coming around there pretty sideways so far. Unfortunately, that meant Shalva could get past Michael, and he's still dropping back. The gap now 7/10 of a second, but that is not a gap that is falling away. Just over 3/10 of a second between Reem Gross and Amin Meshalam. This battle not fizzing out at all. Guy Farron just behind them as well, looking to get involved if these two start battling with each other too much. It looks like Gross is in a very similar position to how Michael Schurling was just a few moments ago, 7/100 of a second, but he just files back in line. Here is Yossi Gabai in his green car, with Dekel now just ahead of him, and a little battle for 11th going on between Dekel and Sard Dekel and Chachishvili just behind.
Problem for Ron Cohen, and the Porsche is in the wall. That's really severely dented the front end as well, so issues for him. I wonder if he lost it on the exit potentially, or he may have got a bit of help. Anyway, let's have a look and see what occurred here as he gets passed by some of the other cars. Here he is fighting away then with Gil Epstein going into, this is Surtees Bend at the bottom of the hill. Oh, okay.
Oh, he just loses it mid-corner. Maybe under braking. It's a very tricky braking zone. It is braking whilst turning the entire way around, and the back end just steps out on it.
That's the thing that puts many people off driving this Porsche, is it? You think you've got it sorted out, and then it goes and does that to you. And I bet you Ron Cohen took that corner exactly as he did for the last few laps, and all of a sudden it went and did that. So that's a massive shame for him, and I wouldn't be too surprised if he has to tour back into the pits, because from that brief on board we had from him after the collision, it looks like that Porsche wasn't pointing the right way at all. Back with the live pictures then, and we're quickly approaching 1/3 distance, and Amit Meshalem is really trying his best to keep Reem Gross at bay, but he might just be about to be set up here on the exit of Westfield Bend. Is he going to poke the nose up the inside? He thought of it, did Gross, but no way through there into Sheen Kirk.
Absolutely, but this batting has allowed Haggai Farron to catch up to the back of these guys, and Gross no longer has to only look ahead. He now has to pay close attention to his mirrors. Good onboard shot now with Haggai Farron. You can see just ahead of him, Reem Gross very close to Amit Meshalem, just over 1/10 of a second, now only 1/10, now half a tenth. He's going to look to the outside, hard on the defensive is Meshalem. Is Reem Gross going to go for the cutback? He is so close to making contact. Haggai Farron maybe a bit distracted by that, runs a little bit deep, and Meshalem with a great defense. Gross had nowhere to go, and he had to file back into single file, but now almost half a car length separating the two drivers. Haggai Farron once again a little bit deep into these corners, trying to maybe take advantage of any possible mistakes up ahead, but really close racing between these two drivers in the battle for fourth.
Yeah, Reem Gross is using pretty much everywhere to try and gain some sort of time. Oh, and he's off!
Oh, so close.
Just as I said, it looked like he was pushing the boundaries of the Porsche, and I think he might have found those limits right there as he almost lost everything on the exit of Surtees.
Yeah, just touched the grass. Did really well actually to keep that one on the grey stuff. Very easily could have got onto the grass on the inside there, and that is a one-way ticket to Wall City. As let's get a replay of what happened here from the chase cam. A little bit loose on the exit, up on the curb pulled him onto the grass, and he did ever so well to keep that going in a straight line there, and unfortunately lost out the pace to Haggai Farron. Let's see it from his onboard view as he comes around the corner going for a good exit. Haggai's exit was actually quite poor, but just manages to take advantage of Reem having that instant in front of him, and up into 5th position he goes. Oh, and now he's on the back of Amit Meshalem as we cut back to live pictures. Is he going to go and make a move down the inside? Squirrely on the brakes, Meshalem hard on the defensive. And once again, Meshalem, good defensive driving from him, as almost looks down the inside into turn number 3, but that's not going to happen. Meshalem once again defending the inside line, almost touching as they enter turn number 5, Surtees. Farron looking to get a good exit now as they come down the longest straight on the circuit, down the hill in towards a pretty long braking zone. It's a pretty difficult corner to make an overtake at. We saw Sherling try it earlier in the race, didn't work out for him, but it's a good place to set yourself up for a move later on in the circuit. As we see riding on board with him once again. This is probably the most difficult corner, at least for me, on the circuit. That grass on the outside, so easy to touch it, and it pulls you into that barrier that gets ever closer to the circuit. He's going to go for a good exit now. Just 3/10 separating the two drivers to come round towards the final corner. Hard on the brakes, around they go over the crest, avoiding the grass on the outside, tucking to the inside to avoid that hill. trying to get any little bit of a draft he can as we start lap number 11.
Oh,
Sends it up the inside, big contact, they're both off on the outside. Reem Gross manages to get through into fourth position I should say. But for Farah and Meshlam, bit too optimistic maybe?
well, and looks like, has he got damage there, or is it just the gravel that's causing it to drive that way? I hope Hagai Farron's sake that he can carry on. It looks like Amir Meshalem's carried on without too many issues, although he has lost a load of places. But yeah, you've got to almost be alongside before you get in the braking zone to get a move done at paddock. And I'm sure what we're going to see from this replay is that it may have been slightly optimistic from Hagai Farron. He was already off the circuit at that point. Let's have a look again. This time from outside of the car. We were on board with Hagai Farron when we saw it live. Up the inside. Oh, I don't think that was on. Let's try one more time.
He meant that. I don't think he meant to make that move. I think he got on the brakes. Maybe wasn't expecting Amir to be where he was. And just maybe he got on the brakes a bit too late and just couldn't slow it down in time, tried to go up the inside to avoid him, because I don't think he's making that corner at all.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether there's a car in front of him, he's not making that corner. I think he was just trying to avoid Amir. And unfortunately, they made contact. Amir's car looked absolutely spotless after the incident there. Let's see from the onboard of Reem Gross in the number 50 car, currently sitting in 6th. He's going to see the two drivers in front of him make contact. I thought for a second Hagai Farron was going to come across the track once again, as it so often happens when a driver spins around like that and smash into the side of him, but he didn't, and Gross is up into 4th position with Bakar 2.5 seconds behind, so he's got a substantial gap to the drivers behind. He can now look ahead.
Nice scrap going on here for some of the lower placings in the top 10. This is Yossi Gabai trying to get by Dekal Nar with Sar Dekal and Reuven Chachashvili in 10th place. Yossi Gabai up 2 places, Sar Dekal just behind him. There he is in the Alpha Tauri livery. Big fan of that. He's up 4 places. And Reuven just behind has lost 2 since the lights went out earlier. And I think sorry, Zane. Just to finish. I think the drivers are showing what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Just how you've got to take a risk if you want to get an overtake done here. And for some, it's paid off, like Shalva getting by Sherling. But for Hagai Farron trying to get by Amir Meshalem, it didn't work out at all.
Yeah, it's actually really important to keep track of the drivers as Dor Malka goes into the pits. He towed that car, and there he is. Oh, that's a big contact into the inside Armco barrier there. You can see the damage it's caused to him, and he's going to pull off to the side. There he goes, and reset to the pit lane, take a tow. That was a big impact there. He got onto the grass, went a bit too wide. As you can see here, they all go wide onto there, and there's another car off there. Trying to work out who that is.
That was Monteriano, was it? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And also the AlphaTauri car there of Sar Dekal has lost the place to Reuven Chachashvili while you're looking at the replay. Here it is. Is this going to be a move into Paddock Hill? It's a mistake at Paddock Hill, which allows Reuven straight up the inside into Druid. So there you go. There goes the 42. Slight lock at the rears there. And he was just about able to get it done. But yeah, there goes the 42 car back up into... I think they're at it again, you know, while we're looking at this replay. Let's go live. And where is... There he is. I wonder what happened there. We might have to look at another replay here to find out what caused Sar Dekal to lose all those places. I think he went off the track at Sheen Curve, you know. Oh, in fact, it starts with Chachashvili going wide. Up the inside goes Sar Dekal into Sheen Curve.
Too much onto the grass. Oh, he's done well to keep that at the barrier and keep that going in a straight line. So easy to either slam into that outside barrier or lose it and head straight into the inside barrier. Really good job from him there to keep it. But he's now got Amir Meshalam trying to make up some positions that he lost after the contact. with Haggai Farah, he's just behind now, and he's definitely got a lot of pace, Hazemir, so he's going to be looking to make up into 10th position very shortly, I'm sure. Make sure that you keep track of the drivers with the most overtakes in the race. They do get points for that, the top 4 overtaking drivers. Right now, Dekel Nara is leading that, if I'm not mistaken. Currently with five moves to his name from the start of this race. There he is, up in 7th in the 49 car, with Yossi Gabay just behind him. Different lines being taken by the drivers as they come through the middle sector and into the final few corners.
And this has been a good onward fight from Yossi Gabay as well. But yeah, Dekel will be hoping to make sure that he can keep one of those 5 places that he's gained since the start of the race. We're approaching the final 15 minutes now here at Brands Hatch. And he's been able to keep this half a second lead pretty much stable since we got going here. This is the closest battle that we've got on the circuit, by the way, as we go into Druids. After that, we've got a couple of attempts in it between Nir Mizrahi and Haggai Farah, just 0.6 of a second between them in the fight for 12th and 13th.
Chachesvili looked down the inside into Graham Hill Bend there. Just a bit of a look, didn't make anything of it, but he's now right on the back of Yossi Gabay as they head down that long straight down the hill in towards the braking zone. Not an overtaking opportunity, but it is if you can get a much better exit, and I think he's got that, you know. Yossi Gabay had to go a little bit defensive. Are they going to go side by side? No, they're not. Ruben pulls out of that one, but now almost touching as they come up the hill. Once again, no room to make an overtake here. We saw that just a couple of laps ago. Around the final section of corners now until we start lap number 16, I believe. As the leader's just passed the line, he's going to go around the outside into the final corner. Who's that off in front of them? That's a lapped car?
Yeah,
yes, it is.
Yeah, really.
That's really in the 36 car. But did that put off Chachesvili round the outside into Paddock Hill Bend? He's made that one stick. Yossi Gabay just yields to position. Side by side, they must have been throughout that entire front straight. And he's a little bit deep into Druids, but it's not going to matter too much. And he makes that move stick up into 8th position there.
And Haggai Farah has managed to get by near Cops, so he is into 13th place now. While we were looking at that spin for Really Sieur, here's what happened. They weren't phased by that at all. And now here comes Reuven powering by on the outside. And Yossi Gabay, is he just going to see him go straight by? Yes, he is, around the outside. Into Paddock Hill Bend. And that is Reuven back up to where he started in a P8.
Yeah, you can see now the almost 3 wide they're going. Who's that? Star Dekel up the inside. I think that's a lap driver that they're getting past there. Who is that? It looks like Moshi Pinchevsky just behind them in the Martini livery. And he's got a very damaged car currently. But almost 3 wide they went through the forested section there. Star Dekel taking advantage of that. Yossi Gabay having none of it. Getting well out of the way of that one. He wanted no part in a 3-way through the forested section there, and he's now maybe getting under a little bit of pressure from Amir Meshalam as they come to start lap number 17.
Yeah, Amir Meshalam will be on the comeback trail, won't he? Just like Haggai Farah as well. Just a couple of tenths a second between them. I wonder if Farah could close up to the back of Amir Meshalam by the end there. They're lapping another car. That is Leon Portman, who is already a couple of laps down. Looks like he's managed to get a new car, so he got a fast repair, but of course he had to tow back, which took a while, so that's why he's so far down the order. And he's even getting passed there by Dor Malka, so Leon Portman just letting the field by. And here is Ori Lahav versus Haggai Farah, and then Farah, who was fighting for a spot inside the top 5 earlier before the contacts at Paddock Hill Bend. Now he's trying to get a spot in the top 12. And at first he's got to get by Euler have here.
There we are riding on board. A little bit of a tail happy moment on the edge of the corner there in the 972 kart, and he's just going to let him past. Farron up the inside, and that is 12th position for him. He's now got a 4-second gap to try and chase down with about exactly 10 minutes to go in this race. He's got to try and catch up the man he punted early on in the race, Emil Meshlam, and he's going to have his work cut out for him with approximately 6 laps to go, I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, I did a great job of butchering that overtake. I didn't see any single second of that. Let's go back and have a look at that then, just so we can see with our own eyes what happened. I think we know what happens, but here it is.
Oh, that was a great exit from Haggai. Right down the inside, and job done. Simple as that. Beautiful move from him.
And there he goes.
Oh, he's already caught up that gap. That's Chachasvili. What's happened to him? He's dropped down into 11th now. Is he going to have a look up the inside of Amir? He did have a look, but he thought the better of it. And Amir is thanking him for that. But Chachasvili has dropped down a couple of places. I wonder what happened to him, because I'm pretty sure it was Yossi Gabai that was just ahead of him. Yeah, here he is then. Is he going to spin it out of Druids? Yes, he is. Does he hit the wall? No, he doesn't. A little bit of improvised rallycross there, and he comes out right in front of Amir Meshalam. Great avoiding work from Amir, and he's just pulled out just behind him now, and that has allowed Haggai Farron to catch up quite a considerable amount to those two drivers. You can see the gap was pretty big, and now Haggai can definitely see those two as he comes down the main straight in towards Paddock Hill Bend for the 19th time, with 5 laps left in this race.
Should just permanently have a camera on the likes of Amir Meshalam and Haggai Farron. Guaranteed action here. Here comes Ruben Chachasvili then through Graham Hill Bend towards 30th. Is he going to fancy his chances up the inside there? No. Understandable as well. If you try and take the inside line through there, you really do lose a lot of time on the exit. And they're coming up to lap some more traffic. That's Toma Ventura just in the foreground of the shot in the all-black Porsche that the cars in front of us were just trying to lap. And here is Ruven in pretty much the all-white car here through Hawthorne. This might get messy. Amir Meshalam trying desperately to get by. Now down the hill out of Westfield Bend up to Sheen Curve. Well, it's like driving in the slow lane of the motorway really here. And up the inside goes Meshalam. Nope, thinks better of it. And this is just going to allow Haggai Farron to get ever closer, Dane.
Absolutely, this must be so frustrating for Amir. Finally, Tony Ventura gets out of the way, but it is definitely too late. Haggai is right up with these two drivers here. Chachasvili wasn't able to capitalize on that. I'm a bit disappointed there on that front, but Haggai much closer now than he was before, and he might have just been gifted some time by Tony Ventura there as they come up towards Druids. About a car length separating Meshalam and Chachasvili, with 1.5 seconds separating Farron with 4 laps to go.
I said that the gap was down to 1.2 between Chachasvili and Farron, but then I think Haggai had difficulty lapping Toma Ventura on the exit clearways, and that's allowed the gap to go back up again. But yeah, Farron's still continuing to eat into it. It's down to 1.4 just within the first half a lap. And meanwhile, yeah, Ruven Chachasvili running just to the white line there. Told that there's good grip out there. And now on the exit of Hawthorne, back down to 4 tenths between these two. It's very close as well between Sardekel and Yossi Gabai. Just 3 tenths of a second between those two. There you go. And also, as you can see on the timing tower, 6 tenths of a second between Ori Lahaven and Near Cop. So quite a few battles to watch out for in the closing 5 minutes of the race. But this is the furthest forward battle we've got on the track right now, and it's between the AlphaTauri liveried car of Yossi Gabai. No, not Yossi Gabai, of Sardekel, and the bright green car of Yossi Gabai here over the line. Oh, and he's hit him!
Oh, in contact! A hit and run for Yossi Gabai. 3 wide, are they going to go in towards Druid's hairpin? Around the outside goes Amin Meshalam. Yossi's going to hold the inside line, a little bit more contact. On the brakes goes Amir. Are they going to go 3 wide? Very close to doing so. Now it's Chachasvili up the inside of Yossi Gabai. And there's Hagai Farron up the inside of Yossi Gabai as well. Yossi on the cross as they come into the braking zone. Gets pushed out a little bit wide by Hagai, but Hagai right on the back of this battle now with about 4 laps to go. 5 minutes left for the leaders. And something's happened to Dorian Tabashny because he has lost 2 seconds in the last couple of laps to Shalva Koteshvili. Currently leading by about a second out in front. That we are still going to focus on this battle for 8th, 9th and 10th between Amin Meshalam, Chachasvili and Hagai Farron in the 777, 42 and 31 cars. Beautiful shot from the chopper as we come around to start what will be lap number 22 when they get to the line around the final corner. Oh, and it's a poor exit for Chachasvili, and Farron's going to move up the inside, coming down the main pit straight in towards Paddock Hill. Benny's going to have to go around the inside. We saw what happened last time. Hagai had to go down the inside, and he's made that one stick up into 9th position, and now he is directly behind Amin Meshalam.
Ding ding, take 2 potentially on the cards, and they're running out of time to do it. Amin Meshalam was only nearly turned around again on the exit of Druids a lap ago, but you got to feel for Sardekel. He'd had a good race up until that point, but the 12 has got going, and he's now back down in 14th place. He started 13th, was up in as high as 7th, I think, and then the contact was made, and Yossi Gabai has lost a few bases as a result of that. Look at Ruven though, he's looking at the inside of Hagai Farron. Is he into Hawthorne? Space is given, but they're going to lose a lot of time if they start going side by side. You can see the gap just extending visibly there while we're currently riding with Amin Meshalam, and Farron using a lot of the runoff area there too on the exit of Westfield.
Absolutely dropping back from Amin Meshalam, who is definitely going to be loving the sight of that in his mirrors. As they're going to come around to start lap number 23. 2 laps to go, I'm going to say, tentatively. As they come around the final corner now, Farron has to get a move on. 7 tenths is the gap, but we know that the gap really has to be about a tenth before they can even think about making a move in these cars. Now down to half a second, 4 tenths now. As Yossi Gabai and Near Cop, no, it's not, it's Ori Lahav, both pit. Have they miscalculated their fuel? As Hagai Farron right up to Amin Meshalam as they come now in towards. So is he going to go down the inside? Yes, he is. Still side by side as they come around the corner, almost touching. Meshalam's going to get the better exit. Still side by side as they come down the back straight now. Hagai's going to have to go around the long way if he wants to make this move for 8th position. Meshalam defending the inside. There is Dorian Tabashnik into the pit lane. Shalva as well. A lot of drivers miscalculating their fuel. Michael Sherling into the pits as well. What is happening here? Reem Gross going very, very slowly. What has happened?
And Matty Bakar's going to stay out, so he's going to take the lead then with, what, a lap to go, starting the final lap. But can he make it to the end? That is the question. Michael Sherling is still in the pit box. Is Hagai Farron? They're all coming in.
Everyone coming in for a pit stop. Is this something that we've missed? We were told it's not a mandatory pit stop race. Matty Bakar currently leading by an absolute mile. Tabashnik in second. Have they forgotten to take enough fuel? Have they miscalculated their fuel?
He's short shifting like mad, is Matty Bakar.
Yes, he is. He's got a 20-second gap. I think Dorian's going to have him if he keeps up this. Looking at the speedometer, he is not going full pace. He's going to coast down this hill for sure. You can see definitely. Oh, he's going to go wide. Trying take every bit of speed out of the car he can. Tabashnik closing down, but this is going to be the final lap of the race. If he can hold on for the last couple of corners, however, it is all uphill from here. Not going to be good for him. If he can make it without running out of fuel, he is pulling.
Oh, he's off!
Masterclass. Tabashnik's off. Oh, and he's on top of the barrier, and he is retired from the race. Oh, so unfortunate for him. Madi Bakar. Now Meshalem's out as well. Don't think that was contacted, but Madi Bakar, and what could possibly be the most anticlimactic finish to a race we've ever seen on the iRacing Israel League. Madi Bakar will win. Unprecedented circumstances here.
Wow.
He has pulled an absolute blinder. This is Reem Grass, who's going to take second place from fourth. He's going to cross the line, overtake Meshlem and Tabashnik just before he does, and take second. Dekel Nar is going to take third position. Side by side across the line, photo finish, and it's going to be Shalva who takes fourth. Absolute scenes here on the iRacing Israel League at Brands Hatch. Oh, and there's a big off. Massive off on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend there after the line. But they're all chatting on the radio. Unfortunately, in Hebrew, I believe. So I can't understand what they're saying, but they're all chatting around away, and there is Yehuda Ben Yosef slow. Is that slow because of damage, or is that slow because of fuel? I wonder. Michael Sherling, massive loser out of all of this, going to finish in 16th. Either he didn't set the right fuel amount, or he took tires, or something in his pit stop went wrong, and he has finished down in 14th, sorry, after the drivers in the pit lane. But Dorian Thrashing, let's see what happened to him on that final lap then, Adam.
Here it is then. So he was chasing him down into Hawthorne. He goes. Oh, he loses it on entry. Massive snap.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, and then physics says yeet. And onto the barrier he goes. And into the pit lane he goes. Amir Meshlam, also in the pits. I don't think he just. I don't think he carried on.
I think he came in and didn't come back.
But I'm really interested to know what happened there, because this was not a mandatory pit stop. Because we were told before the race started there are no mandatory pit stops. Everyone miscalculated their fuel. This is a fixed setup series, and I believe it's Haggai Farron who makes the setups for this series. So he's miscalculated his fuel, not realized that the race is going to go an extra lap, or just miscalculated it. And Madi Bakar has coasted his way to victory in round number 5 of the iRacing Israel League Season 3 by 18 seconds as well. Absolutely great stuff for him. Reem Gross with another impressive finish there in second. Dekel Nar in third. Shalva in fourth. Then we've got Chachasvili, Haggai Farron, Sar Dekel, Nir Kopp. Then we've got Yossi Gabai and Alon Zeltzer. It seems everyone in the midfield stayed pretty much where they were. It's just a couple of drivers during the pit stops switched positions. And Dorian down there, a lap down, didn't finish the race, obviously. Amir Meshlem as well. Toma Ventura, Aiden Scher, Really Sir, Moshe Punchevsky. All of those drivers a lap down. 2 laps down was Leon Portman, David Diag, Dor Malka. And then Ron Cohen, Monturiano, and Eric Alster did not finish the race. But massive scenes there. I am really interested to speak to some of these drivers and see what just happened in that race. So far, no one in the interview waiting area, but we always get a lot of drivers for an interview, so we'll just have to be patient in that regard. But Adam, what a race.
Oh, I wonder if it was just pure cunning thinking or a great intellect by Madi Bakar. He must have, I don't know, he might have seen the fuel before the start of the race and thought, that's not going to make it to the end. I'm going to play it safe here, because I think he was literally the only person in the field that risked that final lap without running out of fuel. I'm just trying to find a reference point so we could go on board with him for that final lap. Let's go from here. So right now...
Yeah. I'm just looking at the SDK live timing. Pit count. only drivers who didn't pit were Maddie Bakar, Sardeckel, Alon Zeltzer, Yehuda Ben Yosef, who we saw going slowly at the end, so that explains that. Toma Ventura didn't pit, and then a bunch of the guys that were a lap down, but obviously they didn't need to pit because they didn't use enough fuel to warrant pitting. It's only the drivers on the lead lap that actually pitted. And you can see he's really using those high gears there to try and save as much fuel as he can. He coasts down the hill after this corner, coasting into all of the corners. It almost cost him the win into the next corner that we're going to see, because he comes down the hill now coasting and doesn't brake. You don't want to brake when you're trying to save fuel. You want to keep as much speed as possible so you don't have to use the fuel. And he doesn't brake here and realizes it last second. He's like, oh no, gets a little bit wide there, manages to hold on to it. Dorian Sebastian didn't. I wonder if Dorian would have caught him though, because he was going very slowly near the end here. I think he would have held on, to be honest. But up the hill, short shifting the whole way, and absolutely crazy finish to this race, and really smart driving from it. I wonder if he was fuel saving the whole race, just a little bit to be safe if it did end up going an extra lap.
And I think once he gets
come around the final corner and he just falls it.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I've done it now.
I've done it. Flash of the old headlights. Across the line he goes, and he is going to feel very happy with himself after that one, I am sure. Still only a couple of drivers. We don't have Maddie Bakar in the interview waiting area just yet. We're going to wait just a couple minutes longer.
Yeah, we do have Near Cop, who finished in 8th place in the end. So he was one of the big beneficiaries. I think he came in the lap before it all kicked off big time. And
yes, himself and Yossi Ubai did, I think.
And Near Cop, he gained 7 places as a result of his fuel stop. He was in the pit box for 3 seconds less than Yossi Goodbye, and he paid off big time there. Michael Sherling, one of the big losers, unfortunately, from all of that. He finished all the way down in 14th place in the end. Yossi Goodbye also waiting to talk to us in the interview as well. Shalvu finished in 4th, Ringcross as well. So I think we've got a big list to choose from, and I think we should start off then in that case with Reem then, while we wait to see if our winner gets in Dane, because Ringcross is the highest finisher we've got in the interview room, and he finished in 2nd place in the end.
Absolutely, we're gonna get him in. As we just get him into the commentary box then. Reem, welcome to the commentary box. 2nd position there, maybe a bit unexpected with all that craziness at the end. Talk us through that.
Yes, really unexpected. It was really confusing what to do. I didn't know if the fuel will be enough for finish, but I saw the leaders pitting, so I decided to pit in. And Maddie take the advantage and take the lead.
Absolutely, managed to leapfrog a couple of the guys at the front as well. Shalva, you managed to leapfrog as well. So when did you realize that you had to pit? Was it a few laps before, or was it just as you were about to pit when you saw everyone else dive in?
Just when I saw everyone dives in, I saw I didn't have any fuel left for one more lap. I saw the white flag, so in the end I decided to pit. I fueled 44 liters by mistake, a lot of fuel for one lap. Cost me a lot of time, but in the end, 2nd position, I'm really happy.
I think everyone was caught out by that, to be honest, because you gained a couple of positions in the pit stops and you added, like you said, a lot of fuel. Maybe 3 liters is probably enough for a lap here at Brands Hatch. I don't know. I haven't done any laps this week, but yeah, that's pretty much the standard for this car. Around 3 to 4 liters, and this is a pretty short circuit. But it seems like everyone overfueled the car a lot because everyone wasn't expecting to have to pit in this race, and then caught everyone by surprise. But you managed to take massive advantage of that, gaining 5 positions throughout the race, a couple of those in the pit stops. But another good finish for you on the podium.
Yeah, I'm really happy about the result. All the drivers is really confused about what happened. It was really good race after all. I'm happy.
Absolutely. Talk us through your battle with Amir Meshlam and Hagai Farron. You were having a bit of a scrap with those two before they collided.
Yeah, it was really hard to keep up with Amir. He's real fast and he defended really well. Hagai took the advantage that we were fighting and got closer to us. And when I did the mistake, Hagai take the chance and take the position for me. And then I waited to I let him to fight so I can take the advantage.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations for this result. It's a great one for you. I believe in 2 weeks' time we head to Spa-Francorchamps. How do you feel about that circuit?
This circuit I know really well. I'm waiting to drive there.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yes, of course. I want to say shout out to Ariel Dabush. He gave me the opportunity to race this league and this company 3D Box Bot X, the new company that sponsor me. And of course Amir Meshulam for all the league and Hagai from Sim Race.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll hopefully see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you. Hope I will be in the podium again.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. Adam, good to hear from you then, our second position finisher, and it looks like we have a decal? No, we don't. So I think you've got Shalva, who is finishing in 4th position.
Yeah, let's get him in for a quick word. And Shalva now joins us in the commentary box. Welcome, mate.
Hello, Adam. Hello, Dane.
It's great to have you with us. And well, talk us through the closing stages of that one, because with just a couple of laps to go, it looked like the positions were set, but then the fuel came into the equation.
The fuel wasn't supposed to come into the equation because the race was supposed to be 22 laps. So that's why me and Dorian were pushing the whole race. And I think there was a bug or something with the race setup, and it just happened to be 24 laps, and we didn't anticipate it, and we didn't. At least me, I didn't practice the pit entry. Like this was the first time I saw the pit entry. That's why I slid all over the place. I got a penalty, and I got 4th, I guess. Well,
I guess in the end, 4th place damage limitation for you in the end. Even with that 44-second penalty, it could have been a 44-second pit stop time. It could have been a lot worse.
yeah, for sure. Like after that, I saw the timing sheets, and I saw Dorian like came 17th or something, like from the top position.
Well, as a whole, up until that point, the race was going pretty well for you. You'd started behind Michael Sherling, and you managed to pull off a pretty decent move around the outside of Druids, I think, to take 2nd place.
Yeah, that was cool. I was really hoping I could get by him sooner, because I was just afraid that Dorian would away from the slipstream, and that's exactly what happened. I took too much time to pass Sherling because he was really quick. Like I wasn't expecting that. He took pole and everything. But after I got past Sherling, Dorian was out of the slipstream, and our pace was pretty much dead even. Like I was gaining maybe like a 10.42 a lap, something like that, and I was getting pretty unlucky with the back markers. That's really something I need to work on. But like I got really close to him at the end of the race, but it wasn't enough, and then the whole charade happened.
At least you know now where the button for the pit lane speed limiter is and what to do in terms of the fuel as well, I guess. I bet you had to quickly change how much fuel you wanted to get put in, otherwise you could have been there for even longer.
Yeah, I was panicking all over the place. I was pressing like all my buttons, steering wheel, tires. It was about to feel like 100 liters. I was just pressing it like a crazy person. Yeah, and I completely lost it. I wasn't even looking at the screen at the last corner. But I guess next race I gotta practice to everything. 20 laps, 24, 30. I'm just gonna practice for every single scenario from now on, I guess.
Definitely. Well, it's been great to hear from you. We were just looking on the replay here that Michael Sherling, who I think was in front of you in the pit lane, I think he took tyres, so that's why he was in a much worse off position than you at the end. But great to have you in the commentary box again, Shalva. Is there anyone you want to give a quick thank you before we let you go?
Yeah, thank you, Amir, for all the surprises. I'm looking forward for the next one.
Well, we'll see what lies in store at Spa, I think. Definitely in 2 weeks' time. Well done on the 4th place, despite we were just looking on the replay at your interesting entry into the pit lane. And we'll hopefully see what happens, and we'll hope it's good for you next week in 2 weeks' time at Spa, Shalva. So thanks for speaking to us today.
Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Oh, there we go. And yeah, that was, we killed 2 birds with 1 stone there. We saw what happened to Michael Sherling to put him so far down the field. A changing of the tyres. I've been there making sure I get the fuel amount right, Dane, and then going, oh no, as the car jacks up in the air, and then that's it, you're screwed for another what, 30 seconds or so in these cars.
It is the worst feeling, definitely. It is definitely the worst feeling when you come in for a pit stop, for an unexpected pit stop as well. Just give me a splash and dash, and then they lift you up onto those jacks, and you're like, oh no, they're putting tires on. Oh dear. Yeah, it's definitely a bad feeling. I think we've got time for one more interview. Get a third interview in, then 5th position driver of who I hope is Chacha's video Discord username of Cha. I think there is only one person that could be. He is currently muted though, so I'm going to not do that because he's not going to be able to hear us. And he's just left as well. So,
oh no, he's back now. Oh, and he's unmuted. So let's get him in.
Reuven, can you hear us?
Yeah, I do hear you. Just a second, please. I'm with you.
Well, talk us through that race, and that was a crazy finish to the race.
It was totally a crazy and unexpected finish. I wasn't expecting to jump 5 positions in the last lap, which was just a fast reaction to the situation. I just reduced the amount of the fuel that I should add to 5 liters, and I managed to jump 5 positions. But yeah, it was crazy because everybody was preparing so much, and this surprising finish just caught everyone. And the leaders just went back, which is, I guess, it's pretty sad. But yeah, it was pretty surprising.
Absolutely. Well, the rest of the race was pretty action-packed for yourself. You had a good old scrap in the midfield.
Yeah, definitely. There were very good racing in the midfield. Me myself didn't have pretty good driving today. Killed myself too many times. I screwed up in some corners. Though, just manage with the situation. Try to just get back as soon as I can. And I catch up to the 10th place before this situation with the fuel.
Absolutely. We're just seeing a couple of your moments that you had on the replay there. A moment with, I believe it was Sardecker, where he went up the inside of you and into the grass on the outside. You had a lot of battles with a lot of different drivers. Like you said, couple of moments that you had by yourself, spinning, getting on the grass a little bit, but you managed to keep the car in one piece as you came towards the line, and that's how you managed to gain 5 positions at the end there with that crazy finish. At what point did you realize that you were gonna not have enough fuel to end the race?
Actually, at first, I just wanna regard to your first comment. Yeah, it was great driving, and I'm so glad that me and Sardecker didn't crash, because I had a bad decision of late braking, and I just spun over the first corner. So I'm thankful for that. And yeah, I had a pretty bad driving today. Too many spins. Though, I managed to, as you said, to keep the car complete, just continue driving as much as I can. Also, my rear tires were probably just overheated, and it was so hard to manage to keep the car not spinning again. Yeah, self spins were pretty crazy. Though the racing with Chagai and Sar and Amir Meshulam, which pushed very hard, was very good racing. Chagai and I had several side-by-side driving. He managed to keep his line, and we have a very clean two wide. So yeah, I'm thankful that I didn't finish without crash. It finished without crashes. And yeah, I think that a lot of practice that I had in the last 2 weeks, as long as with everybody else that has so much practice together or by themselves, helps to this situation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. In 2 weeks' time, we head to Spa-Francorchamps. What do you feel about that track?
Uh, Actually, I'm familiar a little bit with this track. I need to practice a lot, especially after this day that I thought that I practiced enough, but I had so many self-accidents. So I guess that I need to work on my stability over the track for 22 laps. I guess it will be the same in the Spa. So I'm familiar with this track. It's very challenging track, much faster than this track. I guess there will be much more space for overtakes comparing to this track, the Brands Hatch. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for the next race.
Well, so we thank you so much for joining us, Ruben, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Wow, and that was a pretty crazy race. It was a great race throughout, and then at the end we got a little surprise there at the end.
Oh yeah, well, I did think at first when we saw a few cars coming in the midfield for fuel, it did seem a bit coincidental that everybody would be doing that, but then to see the leaders do that, and then, well, Madi Bakar, I know he hasn't come and speak to us on the interviews today, but let's not forget the performance he did to carry on without coming into the pits at all. One of just a few cars to do so. What a job by him, and wow, we are certainly getting some unexpected winners this season in the iRacing Israel League, and I wonder if that will continue when we head to one of the most challenging tracks of the season so far in 2 weeks' time at Spa.
Absolutely, it's going to be very tricky, especially the run through Rouge and Radeon. These cars have very little downforce, so over the crest at Radeon is very difficult indeed. Lots more space for side-by-side action, for overtakes, so it should be maybe even more exciting than what we've seen today. I'm really looking forward to that one. But that is it then from us at Apex Racing TV. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the iRacing Israel League round number 6 before we'll reveal a week later the calendar for the final 6 rounds. We still don't know because it's following the official series, and obviously the official series ends in 3 weeks' time. Then we'll get to know what the calendar is, and we'll get to look forward to even more racing. I've been Name Bear, joined by Alan Barth. Everyone on Apex Racing TV. We want to thank you for watching. See you in 2 weeks' time. Wish you a good night and happy racing.